Well, welcome everybody to Wednesday Women's Wine Time, where we get to get together, connect, and have a vino midweek. I'm Jess Cermak. I'm a coach, an author, and an entrepreneur, and I am delighted that you're joining us tonight. Hi, if you're listening back on the record. Tonight I have a very incredible guest. She is a return guest by popular demand. She is inspirational and very successful, Cristina Williams. Welcome, Cristina.
Yay, thank you. It's good to be here.
Awesome. So let's just dive in, because I have a heap of questions that I want to ask. And I guess tonight I really wanted to focus on, balancing family with, with business and being an entrepreneur, and how do we make that work, and where do we find motivation, and how do we do the whole flexibility thing. So I want to start though with, can you just tell us a little bit about your journey? It wasn't always, you weren't always where you are right now, because I know there's some exciting things happening for you right now, but yeah, tell us a little bit about your journey.
Well, I think, you need a bit of a tough story in order to appreciate the victory sometimes. And I've always said to myself, if the ending isn't how I like it, then maybe it's not the ending yet. Maybe this is just part of the journey. And as you know, I got married very young. I was 20 or 21, had about 1 billion kids. So 4 of my own, and then 4 step kids. And the Sword clan has, always been, I would say, a stable, a bit of a zoo. That the house has always been full on, so I had to learn to juggle pretty early on, because I still had my own dreams to pursue. I really didn't feel like, okay, well, now this is me, so now I'll do nothing else. I've always had things, projects, whether they were creative or business, of my own at the same time. And then unfortunately, I ended up on my own, divorced with 4 young kids, under 5. And, now I look back and I just think, oh my gosh, how did that even happen, and how did I even cope? And I think everyone, that's going through a tough time, you just do. You put one foot forward, and that it's tough, but you have no option. And I think we're incredibly resilient, far more resilient than we give ourselves credit for. I didn't want the single mum curse to be over me. I really kind of rejected the idea that, well, now that you're a single mum, you're always going to struggle. I was like, well, why is that? I don't do that for myself. I still want to think that I could have the things that I want, have the experiences. I don't really want to live a life of struggle. I'm prepared to learn. I'm prepared to adapt. And, it wasn't like I don't need a man. It wasn't that, because I've always thought of repartnering, but it was more just that I wanted to see what I could do for myself. Not that I didn't need anybody, but I really wanted to see myself, in my very best version of me. And so the last few years have been a huge adventure, as things have come together in the business world. I made some big decisions, and every time you make a big, you do something big, there's a risk attached, but it's also thrilling, because it's kind of like taking the wheel back, or control over your life. That was a massive switch, about, I would say 3 to 4 years ago, when I started letting things happen to me and stopped being as reactive as I was, and really started thinking, okay, what do I want to happen next? The way that I sort of moved through that was looking at greater things rather than goals, looking at bigger things like purpose. I'm going to want to talk about that a little bit later tonight, but
Wow.
That there has been a journey, a bit of a journey.
It certainly has, and I think that there'll be many women that can connect with your story, in that when you do find yourself single with children, that it is a bit more of a mountain to climb, because you've got to balance those kids with business.
Yeah.
And that can be a really difficult difficult thing to do. But just because you have kids doesn't mean that you need to let go of your dreams and your goals and your passions and your purpose, does it?
No, not at all. And in fact, I'm really working right now to challenge that whole concept. So I'm writing a book at the moment, and totally inspired by you, to put stuff on paper. And the title of the book is Mamapreneur, and it is, instead of looking at motherhood as a challenge, I wanted to write a book about motherhood being the ultimate advantage in business. I really think that we need to flip it upside down. I saw a wonderful thing, to like stop apologizing, kind of like, how do I work around it? And what if it was just a massive advantage that we had, and I'm not saying people who aren't parents don't have it, but we maybe need to stop looking at parenthood like shackles and start looking at them
like it's a burden.
swords. Yeah, it's not, and I'm when I talk about things, I want to be genderless about it. Like, I don't think it's motherhood. I think also there are a lot of single dads that are doing it tough, that are and also people who maybe they don't have kids, but they've still got all that other stuff that they're juggling. They're still balancing families, they're balancing health issues, they're balancing, like, we all have things that we that could potentially just eat up our time. Like, we all have to work out how to prioritize. And instead of looking at those things that are there, that, we may have looked at them so far as, these are my disadvantages, what if they were your superpowers?
Wow, that's incredible. Wow. So what will I know that you just said it's going to be about, looking at them as a superpower, but are you going to offer some tips? And, is it more like is it your story, or is it more like a self-help book, or what kind of a book is it going to be?
Yeah, so sort of halfway through it, it's turned into a bit of both, because I'm not an expert on this. I'm just, you have to do it from your own point of view, because it's just your journey. And, the whole kind of premise of the book is that when you have something that is a burden, it can either be an excuse or a reason. And I remember being in the little house that I was renting up here at Sheridan, and really kind of confused about my life. I had just left a relationship that was not great. I was struggling economically. I wasn't feeling healthy. Just like everything on the list was just not where I wanted it to be. Health, no. Relationships, business, like everything. I felt like, wow, not winning. And I remember one night, I was sitting there ironing, and I was looking at like a Nat Geo sort of documentary type thing. And I saw this mama bear. This is where the idea came from, really. This mother bear in Canada or Alaska or somewhere. It was like the end of winter. She's thin. She's got 4 little cubs, or 3 little cubs. In my head, I'm saying 4, obviously. And they're absolutely wasting away. They're so hungry. And she's taken them down to the river. They're having a drink, and all of a sudden there's a male bear twice her size on the other side of the bank. And the narrator says, and when times get tough, the male bears will go for the cubs for food. And I'm watching it, and my jaw drops. You're like, oh no, please no, like, I can't watch this, I'm too fragile, I can't do this. And she doesn't even hesitate. She bolts out into the middle of the river to meet him. And she is little and she is frail, and he is double her size, but she stands up on her hind legs and takes him on. And I can't even say it without emotion, because it takes her almost to her death to defeat him, but she does. And she stands there because she's doing it for her. She's got her babies on the riverbank. She knows if she fails, they're next. He's got them next. And so circumstance, size, advantage, situation, preparation, nothing matters in the moment when you have a true motive. And, nature reveals it. And I stood there like with the iron in my hand thinking, oh God, that's me. I have something to fight for. They're in these little beds. They're asleep. They deserve better. I deserve better. I don't know everything I need to know, but I'll learn it. I don't have the skills I need to have, but I'll get them. I don't have the connections, but I'll find them. I don't have the opportunities, but I'll, like, you know, source them. Because really it comes down to motive, you know. In a crime or in a victory, it comes down to why. And I really went to work on me, you know, because I felt that if I really put the excuses to the side, I had big reasons to fight for. And that's what the book is about, that if you are juggling life and you have got a family, they don't need to be the reason you don't do things. They're exactly the reason you do.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. And that's, you know, I think it takes some people a long time to get to that point, but that's, you know, it forms a lot of, particularly for women, their why. I mean, we are naturally, for most of us, very protective of our babies, and we want the best for our babies, and we're willing to, you know, do almost anything for our babies. And I just think that, wow, what a story. I don't know any other, you know, metaphor that would, help you to understand that epiphany, you know. What a moment. What a moment.
It was. And, you know, it's why I always say, like, it doesn't need to take the rest of your life to change the rest of your life. We all have, like, little moments that and sometimes you realize it, sometimes you don't. But sometimes in a moment you go, oh yeah, what just happened then is going to change my life. You know, that what I just saw, what I just felt, that emotion, and you just think, oh gosh, okay, I can't just walk forward and walk over that. I need to do something with that.
Yeah. And it didn't just happen overnight for you either, too, did it? It was
no.
And I think that this is a big thing that women need to really understand, everybody needs to understand, is that they often will look at people on Instagram or Facebook or, you know, on the internet, and they think they're an overnight sensation, they're a success, they're, you know, they've overnight, you know, got wealth and time. But realistically, it doesn't happen that way, does it?
No. But it's good enough just to know you're on the path, even if you haven't arrived anywhere yet. You know, you already instantly start to feel better the moment you say, you know, okay, I've started that diet, or I'm throwing away my pack of smokes, or I'm going to apply for that job. You mightn't even have the job, but you instantly start feeding yourself a different, you know, narrative.
A story. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think the whole, you know, the kids are a challenge, or the family the challenge. I think it's easy to and I'll say hide behind it, because I know I've done it, because it's a really easy blanket to put over ourselves and go, yeah, the reason I can't do X, Y, Z is because I've got the kids. You know, I used to say that, like, I'm on my own with 4 kids, you know, so that's why blah blah blah. But the reality is that's a really that's a very easy shield to wear, but it's not good enough excuse, you know. It's just so easy to reach for, but it doesn't have to be that way, you know. And I think just putting yourself on a different path for whatever it is, like, it doesn't have to be, oh, I want to be a billionaire. It could just be like, I want to have you know, 3 days off a week, or I want to work part-time, or I want to go on adventures, or I want to do a holiday a year, or I want to write a book, or I want to repartner. The moment you get yourself back on Tinder or whatever it is these days, or the moment you sign up for that course, or you join a Facebook group for authors, you're just validating a new version, and that's already a huge step to feeling better about yourself.
Huge. And it's communicating with the universe too, to say, look, I'm ready to go, you know, give me the people, give me the situations, give me the circumstances that I need in order to go forward on my path. It's when we make those decisions, those pivotal decisions, that things, you know, the cogs start turning. And they, you know, usually they start quite slow, but it's like, you know, it quickens up very fast. It's like the snowball effect. And you would have experienced that too when when you start following those breadcrumbs and you start moving forward and you make that decision. You'll be surprised that the people that come into your life, the people the books that suddenly find their way into your life,
The conversations you have, the opportunity, they are. And what happens is that you become a magnet for them. But like you said, you start affirming to the universe, but you start affirming to yourself as well. You start answering to life as the person that you want to be, so whereas before you literally don't see it, but you remove yourself from opportunities, you count yourself out too early, you self-sabotage. Like, we all do it because we don't expect the story to turn out that way, so we don't even invest anything into it. I think it's incredible when you make a decision, and I think that's the biggest thing that we don't do, right? When we're holding the kid blanket or the I'm too busy blanket over our heads, we don't even ask the question, am I happy with my life? Generally. And the reason I wasn't asking it is because I wasn't sure if I wanted to face myself if the answer was no. Because you've really only got two options there. You're going to have to do something about it, or you're now going to have acknowledged that you're not really that thrilled with how your world is turning out. And none of them are good options if you're not ready, but it's a really good place to start, to just say, if I couldn't fail, if I really could express myself in any which way, what would I reach for? What would I go for? I'd love to recommend a book, actually. Mal recommended to me, and the first chapter I was like, oh, okay. And then when it kicked into gear, I'm just like, super fan. And it's Making Your Dreams Come True by Marsha Wieder, or Wider. I don't know how to say it.
Can you spell out? In Marshall, did you say?
Marsha, as in
Marsha.
Marcia. Like Weider. Wider.
Making Your Dreams Come True.
Yes. Awesome. And I started listening to it because I was in traffic, and I was like, oh, okay, let's do it. And, but massive epiphany, right? Massive epiphany. We focus on dreams a lot. Like, we go, okay, so what do I want? And you start making it like it's a Santa's list, right? Or a shopping list. Okay, well, I want a house here, and I want to travel there, and I want to do that, and I want to write a book, and I want to do this. And some of those stick and some of those don't, and whatever. And I always thought that's so we had to start designing a dream. But she talks behind it, and it's about designing purpose. Right? Yeah. And the dreams are just an expression of your purpose. And I'd always wondered, why is it that I really enjoy coaching in business? I like writing. I like poetry. How come I like writing films? But I love my time with my family. Am I just like bipolar? I have all these weird goals that don't even, who am I, And exploring purpose, I discovered that my purpose, like what drives me and what actually fuels my soul, is connection. So connection can happen over hot dogs with the kids. It can happen through a poem. It can happen through a session like this, through writing a book. My goals are now more meaningful because I understand why they matter. It's an expression of my essence. That's why we want to shoot for things. They need to align with who we are and what we're here to do.
Wow. What an epiphany.
It's a cool book. It's a cool book. Yeah. And, because sometimes we know we want things, but we don't know why.
Yeah. And it's, the things that we want are often very multifaceted too. And it's important to have those, those things, but to get to the very core of why we want those things. Because if we don't have the real desire or for those things, then often we can lose sight of those, or they can become too hard, or we can get too tired. Do you know what I mean? One of the books that I'm reading at the moment, which I'm finding really helpful for me, is called The Slight Edge. I'm not sure if you've read it. And it's all about consistency, about doing little things every day, that, you know, culminate into something big. He was, you know, he talks about, you know, he's very big on personal development. So reading just 10 pages of a book a day, or listening to, you know, 10 minutes of an audio book a day, which is completely, you know, framing your mindset. And he's, you know, that adds up. You know, every little thing that you do, particularly in business. I mean, women say I don't have time. Well, it doesn't have to mean that you have to dedicate 8 hours every single day. It's little things that you can do each day to get you closer to your goal, or closer to your, you know, for you, you know, the things that light you up, purpose.
I love that. And it's so funny you mention that. Funny how, like, we're obviously on the same wavelength. Literally yesterday, I did this thing with the kids. You know, I used to write a blog about little exercises that I used to do with the kids too, especially boys. Like, they don't learn unless you give them an experience, you know, like, you know, oh, touch that, it's hot, okay, don't touch it again. But, you know, I don't just mean painful experiences, but I used to do that. And then yesterday I just had a thought, because I took them out to the backyard. There's a leaking tap right in the backyard, and I walk out and I see it leaking, drop when I go hang the washing out, and I'm thinking, oh, that's not much water. And then I put a bucket under it, and in a day and a half it filled up. A day and a half. And so we're in the car, and I said to the boys, we've all got leaking taps. Like, there's something we do that we think, oh, they're little habits, they're little things we repeat, they're little thoughts we keep feeding ourselves. And I said to them, you know, we have to do a stock take of what are the leaking taps in my life. You know, those little things that, yeah, I always say, yeah, but, or I always say tomorrow though, or that could be positive things. You know, I always say, I'll do my 10 minutes of reading tonight, or just when I feel like saying no to that extra homework, I'll do it. Or, you know, and I thought to myself, what are the little things I'm doing that are adding up? And what are they adding up to? You know, I think that compound effect, that cumulative effect is massive, because we're all dripping on something. You know, that sounds gross, but we're all, every single day, we're repeating little things that are taking us in a direction. And if we want to go somewhere else, it's not usually a big move. It's not usually a big moment. Success is usually made up of little drops.
Yep, I 100% agree with that. 100%. It's little things that you get into the habit of doing every day that get you closer to your goal. I mean, it's like, you know, when you want to lose weight, it's like, if you don't, you know, do exercise 20 minutes a day, if you don't do that, obviously you're not going to lose the weight. But it's like, we can feel frustrated and get really upset with ourselves when, you know, 3 days after we start our exercise regime, we're like, oh, this is not working, I'm not losing any weight, just give up now. And I think that we can be like that in, you know, in our business or in our personal lives. We can feel like, I'm not getting immediate results, because we are, you know, we want results immediately, that we can feel that it's not worth it, or we should stop. And I think that the key here is, you know, consistency. It's about doing things every day. People talk about, you know, an hour of power, getting into your business, knowing what you've got to get done, and just, you know, doing it.
Yeah.
I do have a question. Can you just tell us a little bit about what you do? I know you're hugely successful, and you're, you know, I don't know whether, you know, you've accomplished a bit of a dream. I don't know whether it's all finalized, but, you know, you're up leveling. Like, you've got amazing things that are going on that say, you know, how old is Jack now? 10 years ago, you would have probably never thought possible.
That's
and
true.
You've done it on your, you know, I know Matt's been there to help you on your journey, but you've really, the foundations of that was you, and you've just such an inspiration.
Oh, thanks, darling. You know, it's kind of odd to talk about yourself, but I guess I'll just say that I have set some goals and written them down, and then, you know, I'm in the middle of accomplishing what's been a major one for a number of years that I thought was out there for other people. But, you know, what I do for a living is I work with a biotech company. It's just a vehicle, you know, it happens to be an incredible product. And we bringing it to new markets. We're taking it to the world. I won't obviously go into the detail, but I'm in the health industry, and we have a product that is a massive advancement in the health industry. And hello, right now in the world, health just happens to be a massive topic. So all our operations are online. So that's, you know, been a blessing because we're continuing to grow regardless. We've just had some of our biggest turnover weeks. And for me, I kind of went down this path. I didn't really want to go into I mean, if you said to me, what do you want to do? It wouldn't have been this, but I had to start thinking about results. You know, I had to start thinking, okay, how do I want to live? Okay, well, I need my freedom. I need to make an income. Like, wow, you know, what if I could make $10,000 a month? What if I could make $20,000 a month? And I had to look at it, and these kind of tick the result boxes. And I'd always been making decisions in my life based on what I feel like doing, what am I good at, what have I got easy, what's easy. And then when it didn't give me the results, it was like, oh, really, Sherlock? Well, you didn't think about the results. That, you know, career path isn't designed to give you those outcomes. So I chose what I do because finally I started thinking, okay, what are the outcomes that I want? And I just want to add, because we're talking about the little drops and doing things every day, I think it's important to learn to forgive ourselves when we don't, you know, get things right, and when we go off track, because being on a journey doesn't mean that you don't have days where you take a few steps off the path. And I think we're just terribly good at beating ourselves up. And in my history, I would then go, oh, well, then that's done. There you go. I'm going to fail just like I have at everything else. Nobody else has doubts. I've got fears. I've got insecurities. I really stuffed up that meeting, and I think previously I just would have taken that and held on to it as evidence that there you go. You can't do this, Cristina. Now I look at it as an opportunity to exercise the bounce back muscle, because if you look at elite athletes, you look at, in the top of the game, like say tennis, they can all hit the ball. They can all hit the ball. What defines a champion is when stuff is against them, they just hold their stuff together and they go to the next hit as if the last disaster never happened. It all becomes about keeping your cool. And, I had a day yesterday, Jess, and I don't mind telling everybody, where it was not a good day. I cried at the shops. I cried in the car. By the time I picked up the kids, my eyes were out here. None of them noticed, right? Because they're boys, so they don't care.
That's right.
Somebody said to me, "What's wrong with your nose?" I've been crying for 6 hours.
Are you pregnant?
No, I thought that. I'm like, God, don't get a pregnancy test. No, but it was like, obviously I've been carrying stress, and then it was like one thing happened, and then it was just like, brr. And I was walking. I had to walk about from where my mechanic was to Mount Omni. It was like a half-hour walk, and our lecturer was just walking, crying, just like, ah, ah. Just crying. My car's broken down, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought, and during the day, I was like, yeah, today's a write-off, mate. Like, today is just gone. Like, just get through it, brush your teeth, feed the kids, go to bed, and reset, because I, and I've got my little like essential oil, like it's, forgive or cheer, or I don't know what it is. I'm like, all the whole time, like, I don't know. I think, years ago, it would have taken me out of action for weeks, but now I just look at it as evidence that I'm out there having a go, and that some days are going to be like that. And I go, it's all right. It's just one day. Get back, tomorrow's fresh. Tomorrow's untouched. You're not off track. You just took a deep breath, get back on, and I think, moving forward is not the absence of doubt or of challenges. It's just not allowing yourself to be manipulated by them.
Beautiful. That is beautiful. And I think it's important to note that, No one's perfect, and we all have days that are write-off. You know, I've had, gosh, especially with these renovations and stuff, I feel like I've had to just write off the week.
Yeah,
you know, just having to move out and, you know, dealing with the kids and they're out of routine. And I think, you know, that's okay. It's okay. We're humans. We're not computers. We can't just, you know, just get on with it. You know, we have to take the time out to feel into our emotions. And sometimes it is a bit of a realignment or a bit of a, you know, the things that have been coming to me this week, because I haven't been, you know, bogged down by things that are going on. It's like I've had epiphanies, like, oh, okay, that's how I need to, you know, redo it or reword it or move into that space. So, yeah, it's interesting that, you know, sometimes the universe does throw us curveballs, and it's often a sign that we need to, you know, stop and listen and see what comes up for that. So my next question, sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, Jess, the thing I hold on to with all that is I tell myself, forget about perfection, focus on progress.
Yeah, progress, not perfection.
Yeah, just,
you
know, move forward a little bit. Yeah. That's fine.
Yeah. And I think, you know, that particularly was a big lesson for me, and you would know this in writing. It's like, you know, you want to get it perfect the first time. But somebody once said to me was that often when you're sitting there trying to get it perfect the first time, there's no emotion in it. There's no feeling. There's no rawness. There's no, you know, organic matter. It's like, she's like, just let it flow. And who cares if you get it wrong, because that's what an editor's for. Yeah. And you're gonna read it like 50 times before it goes to print, like at least.
Exactly. It's not published tomorrow.
That's right. And if you sat there and you're like, well, I just can't get this chapter perfect today, then honestly, you're never going to finish the book. You'll be, you know, you probably won't be here before you finish. And one of the things that, you know, I guess, you know, when I went back to reread my book was that, oh, holy moly, like this came from me. Where the heck did this come from? But when you're in that moment and you're not focusing on the perfectionism and you're just letting your, you know, your heart pour out, that's when the real gold, the real beauties just come out and they outpour. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So, and that's life too. Life is about progress. It's not about perfection. You know, no one's going to be perfect. And I think that we need to stop putting so much pressure on ourselves, because there's so much beauty in the imperfections.
Love it.
I've had some, beautiful moments in being completely imperfect.
Love it.
So my next question is, I guess, and we're kind of talking about this now, which leads us into this, is motivation. You know, we often go on this roller coaster journey, and, you know, particularly in business, we can lose motivation, we can lose drive, we can get slumped down with what you're saying. How do you personally pick yourself back up again?
You know, I do a lot of scheduling. Yes, it is about knowing why you want things to, you know, to happen, and knowing your purpose. And I think, you know, I'll come back to that, but scheduling has been huge, because, you know, we go, how do I feel, you know, how do I get myself to a place where I feel like doing that every day? And then I just want to challenge that and say, do you really have to feel like it, or should you just do it? You know, I'd love to always have motivation, but honestly, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I can't be stuffed doing that meeting. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't want to have to do that coaching session because I'm not feeling great, you know. But if it's pre-scheduled, if I've made a commitment, if I have planned, then I don't need to go looking for motivation. I think that's really essential. So I was struggling to get to the gym, right? And I realized it's because I had this mindset, I had given myself this story that I would see every day when I could find the time. And so because it was like if you find the time kind of option, I often didn't find the time. You know, it's like,
I hear you.
Well, there you go. So I just went into my Google Calendar, and I'm using that a lot, and just went 9 to 10 a.m. is your exercise window. Now, it doesn't matter if you sit there and do yoga, if you go to the F45, if you go for a walk, but you are absolutely, that's you for your body, for your health, that time. It's been so cool to not be looking for the scraps of time. It's kind of like I've declared that's important. It's going in the calendar. So it's not about motivation. Sometimes we think we have a motivation issue. We have a planning issue. You know, that's one thing. Because you want to do it. You just didn't organize yourself, you know. And then the other thing in terms of, okay, how do I find the energy to do something? Sometimes it's about then breaking it down to doable chunks. It's like, oh, I can't find the motivation to go and write a book. Yeah, but who can? Like, maybe you need to find the motivation today to just have an hour of sitting in the sun and brainstorming ideas. Maybe tomorrow it's finding the motivation to listen to a podcast about writing a book, you know. So it's we don't need to find the motivation to climb Everest. We just need to find the motivation to get to the next little peak, or to walk for a few hours. So sometimes we're looking to be inspired to make these great, amazing feats, but the great, amazing feats happen one day at a time by little things happening all the time. So it's not as scary as we think. Sometimes we're looking for like this, you know, Niagara Falls, and all we just need is to concentrate on what little drops can I work on today. And I think, again, overarching all of that, it comes down to purpose. You know, it really does. Like, once we think, okay, what am I here to do? And it does, you don't have to be Gandhi. Like, your purpose can be, I want to have a good time, you know, or I want to have adventures, or I just want to be nice to people, or I want to make a difference, or I want to raise a family. Like, it doesn't, there's nothing more noble or less noble. It just has to be authentic or not, you know. And you're better off chasing an authentic dream that really belongs to you and belongs in your heart than trying to step into something that isn't you, you know. So I think there's incredible freedom when you actually start unpacking that and going, what does Cristina actually want to do? You know, like, strip it all away. Forget about what I think people should think of me. What is the right thing to do by what I said I was going to do, or what are society standards, or what is expected of me. We suffer too much at the hands of, you know, the public, and the public honestly doesn't care. Like, we're all too busy thinking about ourselves. I have spent way too much time dealing with jealousy about other people, dealing with insecurity, you know, walking into a room feeling like I must be dumber, I must be poorer, I must be less, you know. We suffer from this thing almost like an imposter syndrome. I'm not really who they think I am. Damn right you're not, you know. We've usually got so much more to give, but we're usually cutting ourselves short. And I started to think, you know what, I can't be at the mercy of others' opinion. If somebody has an opinion of me and it's not good, then do I really care? You know, do I really care?
Do you need to waste your energy? I mean, instead of putting energy in what you know, your life, you're wasting your energy by falling into those comparison traps and
exactly.
that
if you
judgment.
take that back, if you take that back and you give yourself the space, like there's that space to go, what do I really want to do? And more importantly, why do I want to do it? Then motivation is easy, because you're not competing with anybody else. You're just enjoying yourself in your life.
Yeah. And I'm really big on this. I think that, you know, each and every one of us, there is nobody on this planet exactly like us. And there never has been. No, there's no one exactly like you that's ever walked the face of this earth. So why can't we all we've all got individual gifts. We've all got things that we love. Why can't we just be authentically us? Because when we do that, then that's when we step into, you know, a greater sense of alignment. That's when we step into our purpose and our passions. and we start to follow the
Mm.
breadcrumbs, and you know, happiness is a result of that. You know, when we start to feel aligned, and we start to feel like we're purposeful and on our path, and we're not, you know, people pleasing or feeling like we're being judged or compared to, that's where the true happiness comes from. And I think that that's why there's so much mental health issues, because we're too caught up and expending too much energy on what other people think, or whether we're good enough, or, you know, whether, you know, Fred's going to like us up the street, or Rhonda's going to, you know, go ahead and promote us. Do you know what I mean? One of the books that I read recently that really helped me on that, which, you know, might be helpful for other people, is a book called You Are Enough by Cassie Mendoza Smith, I think. And it really helped me to see, I'll just try and Google her name, because it's a bit of a long one. It just really helps me to see that we can get caught up in, you know, just expending. Yep, so it is Mendoza Smith. Yeah, just getting caught up in what other people think, and that when we have the ability to release it, that's when, you know, great things start to happen, and we can, you know, start to follow our own paths, and really start to build ourselves up, and not feel so, you know, so much weight when we release that, because we hold on to that really, really deeply.
Yeah.
I only have two more questions for you. One of them is, do you have any tips for mums out there who are just starting their businesses that really, I know you just talked about scheduling, and I think that's a phenomenal tip. And I know I've just started to really schedule in my yoga and my Pilates, and I'm feeling so much better for it.
Yeah.
But trying to, I don't know, it's almost like I had to justify it, because it does take up quite a bit of time. But my mental health and my self-care is important, and I you know, I've just started to really realize that. But do you have any other tips for women?
I think, you know, there's that analogy about putting the big rocks into the glass first, and then letting the little rocks fall. And I think I've done it backwards. I've always been really reactive with life, like going, I'll just get through the things I need to do, and then I'll get to that task that is actually the one that's important, you know. And so you end up responding to people, or there's hair on the bathroom floor, you know, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. And so then the day goes and you go, oh, well, I'm too tired to do that, X, Y, Z. So it goes on the list for tomorrow. So the scheduling has been massive. You know, I got a thing called Calendary, which has changed my life, so that in my business, people who want time have to schedule it into windows that I've already predetermined. So I'm happy to work from 11 till 2. Then I want to have time with my children. I mean, how guilty am I, you know, to actually have time with my sons. And then I'm happy to work from here to here and here to there. And so instead of saying yes, yes, yes to everything, I've said yes to me first. And then I've given that time to other people, and said, sure, you know, can I do a meeting? Can you coach? Can you do this? Sure. Check out the link and find a time that best suits you. So I'm not, you know, being mean about it, but it means that my life is back in my control. And I think that's so important, because in there you put the big rocks. You go, I need to have dinner with my sons or my, you know, spouse, or okay, I need to schedule my meditation and exercise. I need to schedule my personal development. So you put the big rocks in. And when it comes to our business, we need to look at whatever business or job we have, what are the high yielding activities? Every business has stuff, right, that you could do, but your world's not going to fall. It's not going to either advance you or hold you back. It just needs to get done. But then there are core activities that actually are tied to growth. So high yielding activities are activities that are tied essentially to growth. So when I'm presenting to a new person in my business, then it means that I really need to, that's a high yielding activity. Whereas fixing a PowerPoint needs to get done, but you know, it could be 40 minutes of my time. Someone just said the 80-20 rule. It's exactly right. So, but we always get it backwards. I used to anyway. I just 80% of the time I'm doing just fluff, and then I didn't get to the essentials. So put in the big rocks first. That's my advice. And acknowledge that you're a big rock. Like, you are okay to be scheduled into your own time, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, and we can forget that sometimes when, you know, we're a mother and we're a friend and we're a spouse and we're, you know, the cook and the cleaner and the taxi driver, and it can be hard to you know, schedule that in. But the importance of that is just, you know, if we don't do that, what ends up happening is we end up having a bit of a breakdown, you know, we start to resent our family.
The side of the road.
Oh goodness, you poor thing, you poor thing.
That was just silly. No, but you're right. Like, yeah, the wheels fall off, you know.
It does, and our mental health really takes the toll. I know that, you know, when I'm not in that space of, I'm very much about scheduling because I have to, because and you're the same. We've got so many kids as well, that I only have, I've set boundaries. These are the days that I work, and the other days that, you know, I only work 3 days a week at the moment because, you know, I've got so much going on. And then the Mondays are, you know, I'm sorting out the house, and the, you know, after the weekend and the washing has mounted up. And then Fridays I dedicate to Indy, because before you know it, she's going to be off to school. You know, we won't be able to have any, you know, little coffee dates or anything. And I cherish that, and I don't want to, you know, trade that for anything, because that's her time, and you know, I dedicated that to the other kids as well, and she deserves that time. So that's super special. My final question for tonight is a bit of a big one, but what do you want your legacy to be?
Oof. Well, funny you use the word legacy. It's crazy how connected we are, right? Because I wrote on a piece of paper this week, I don't want to leave a tombstone, I want to leave a legacy. I literally wrote that down.
Wow.
Or I think I wrote, we're not here to leave tombstones, we're here to leave legacies. And we all leave some kind of a legacy. Like, a legacy doesn't mean that, you know, your Mother Teresa. Sometimes people leave a legacy of pain. Sometimes people leave a legacy that isn't positive, you know. We all leave, exactly. We all leave, like, we walk through here, we all leave footsteps, you know. So it's not like for just the chosen few. It really is, we're all leaving something behind. So it's important to kind of pause and go, what am I leaving? Like, what mark am I making on my world? Because I'm making some mark, and is that the one that I want to make? And you know, very recently I've thought that for me it's connection, and it has allowed me freedom to indulge in things that I always thought, what's the point of that? You know, like with my husband, I'm always feel like I'm, you know, we have these conversations, but I'm always like, we need to do that, we need to do this. Did you check the thing? Did you send the thing to the bank? It's almost like, I mean, I must be so exhausting to deal with, but it's just like about stuff, you know. And I thought to myself, if my goal is connection, like, what is the legacy that I want in my marriage? You know, right now the world is upside down. I think we're realizing we're not all eternal. And, you know, I hope to have 50, 60 years with him, but if I only had one, how do I want to be remembered? You know, oh, she always had a spreadsheet for me, you know, like, you know, how do I want to, that's why I started doing those boyhood things with the boys, because I thought, I'm not going to have these conversations when they're 30. I mean, I hope that I do, but why can't I have those conversations now? You know, why am I delaying getting into shape? I could start going to the gym today. So I think if I wanted to ask myself what legacy do I want, is I want to be present. I want to be somebody that was always there when you know, I was with someone or with a group. I want to be present, and I want to connect. And I think for me, that would be a life well lived.
Wow. What a legacy to leave. Wow, that's incredible. Oh, just trying to trying to process all that. That's incredible. Oh, wow. Well, I just want to say a huge thank you for taking time out tonight. I really, really, honestly, you are just wise beyond your years, and you have so many little pearls of wisdom, and you just have this beautiful and unique way of being able to explain things that in a different perspective that make it really easy and relatable and funny. And it's such an honor to not only know you, but to have you in my life and be the mother of, my brothers. And I just think you are so special. I do want to open it up to anybody on here before we go, because some people might have questions. Does anybody have any questions that they'd like to ask before we say goodbye to Cristina?
No questions, just thanks, Cristina. Like, that was, really good. Definitely got some gold out of there.
Oh, thanks,
and
darling.
and even your last comment about really like being present.
Mom.
For me, that's like one of the biggest things that I'm trying to work on now, is just really just being present. It's so easy to get caught up in everything.
It is yeah.
Yes,
right.
it is.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thanks for being present tonight, Cara.
Yeah, thank you. And even that wasn't sort of like times I thought, oh, I could do this at the same time while I'm listening. I'm like, no, I'm just going to sit and be present tonight.
No.
Like, it's just so hard to
I
find.
know. I hear you. I'm the worst, and so there's times to multitask, but but then there's times where you just got to give yourself the space, to be there and enjoy it. Yeah, so thank you. I just want to say, Jess, like, I just admire you so much. I just think you're an absolutely amazing woman. I know everyone here agrees. You are truly inspiring, and like, I get so much out of this conversation. I really do. Like, I just think, oh wow, I'm filled up just from being able to do all the things that you say, and I think it's just incredible that you put these on. Like, I really just should start coming more often, because it's just really nice to hang.
I know it is. I really look forward to this each week, and we've had such a variety of incredible women who all are on their own journeys, and we've all got these incredible stories and triumphs and pains, and I think it's important for other women to see that they're not alone. We're all going through this together, and we're not all perfect, and we've all got our own journeys, and everybody just brings the most beautiful things each week, little pearls of wisdom. But on that note, I'm having a week off next week, and I did have a guest booked in, but Alex has told me I'm not allowed to host next week, so I think he might have something planned.
Yay!
But he won't tell me anything. So who knows?
That's exciting.
Yeah.
Well, I hope so.
I'm not sure. I know, I do too. Who knows?
Probably so you can watch the kids while he goes to footy.
Yeah, probably. But in a fortnight, I have an incredible human, Melly Stewart, who is a courage coach. So I get to have a little bit of a chat with her, and then in a fortnight's time, I'm talking with a lady who I haven't actually met yet, and her name is Annie. And she is I'm just looking now, she helps amazing women reconnect with themselves, reignite their sparkle, and rediscover their joy and purpose. So she has a pretty phenomenal story from what I've heard.
Wow.
I don't want to disclose it because obviously I want, that to come from her. But so we've got some incredible women coming up. So if you can join us, it's every Wednesday, 7 p.m. It's the same Zoom link and the same password. So if nobody else has any questions, I might wrap up and get home to my babies. One of them's on the camera.
Thanks, you're amazing.
Thanks, Tammy. We should all get together and have lunch.
Yes.
Say bye, everybody.
Bye, Mum.
See you later, Indy.
See you soon, Indy.
Just so tired.
Bye.
Take care.
Thanks,
See
Jenny.
you.
Take care,
Bye.
everyone. Thank
Bye.
you.